live from Devex World, and I'm joined by Rob Segan from QED Group. Hi Rob, thanks for joining me here at Devex World.
Thanks, Helen.
So we've been hearing a lot today about the data revolution, and I wondered from a more technical perspective, in your role as Senior Technical Advisor at QED Group, what's ushered in this new era of the data revolution and what lies ahead?
Yeah. I think on one level, what's ushered it in is just the number of apps that we have that are collecting data on us. So today, probably both of us have already been on like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all these things that we didn't have 12 years ago that are all collecting data on us. On another level, it's just the large number of people that we have now that didn't have phones before. So back in 2000, less than 40% of people in the US had a cell phone. And now that number is more than doubled. But if you or I had a friend or a colleague who didn't have a cell phone, it would be shocking to us, really. It'd be surprising. And I think that speaks to how much it's become embedded into our day-to-day life and in our culture. But more than just kind of people in the US and in the UK and Western Europe who are using cell phones, it's also about the number of people in emerging markets in places like Africa. So in Africa now, we have around 80% of the population has cell phones. That's 1 billion people. And that's a number that's just grown exponentially in the last 7 years. So a lot of times when we think about like the data revolution, we think about it being formed or developed. But like one of my favorite stats is something that Google came out with a couple months ago. And they were saying how 15% of all Google searches have never been done before. So 1 in 7 times that we do a Google search, we're the first person to enter that data in. And I think that shows how much the data revolution is still growing. And 10 years from now, we're going to look back at where we are, and it'll be like looking back at where we are now, and it'll be the way we look back at using Prodigy and dial-up internet and AOL Instant Messenger, and it'll seem antiquated. And I think companies like QED that are investing in like HMIS, data science, data visualization, computer programming are really going to be able to take this data revolution, this growth in the amount of data, and use it to do development more effectively. And I think that's kind of where I see the future going.
That's really interesting. And could you share any more examples about where some of these practices are being incorporated effectively, both in work in international development and also outside of the development sector?
I think, so one example from like a project work would be the Uganda Learning Project that QED is doing. And this is really focused on like impact evaluation. And it's doing impact evaluation now in a way that wasn't possible 10 years ago or even 5 years ago because the data wasn't there. And now we have the data, and that's, it opens up a lot of doors with that. On a more specific level, QED has developed a device called, an app called Share, which allows us to do data collection better. So in development, we always talk about empowering the communities where we work, and we're talking about using data to make data live and making it real time. But the truth is, when we go out and we do data collection, as soon as we've collected that data, traditionally, the data becomes static, and it's only representing that point in time. But with Share, the data is all of a sudden, it's live and it's real time by allowing users to comment and provide feedback on the data after it's been collected. And so this is really incredible when you think about it, because it not only makes the data live, but it also gives the data back to the communities where we're collecting it from. So I think this is something. And when you're talking about, if you're looking for examples from outside of development, I think what IBM's AI Watson is doing is really incredible in terms of cancer research. And it's had some problems in the last. It's had some challenges in the last couple of years, but what it's able to do in terms of being able to better diagnose and better treat cancer is incredible. Going back even further afield, what got me first really excited about the data revolution and the potential for it was Michael Lewis's book Moneyball, which came out like 15 years ago, which showed how data could really be used to transform the game of baseball and be used to make baseball more, how it could be used to transform the game to allow players to be more effective. And this was really kind of like it was a game changer in baseball. And so I was a big Red Sox fan growing up. And for year after year, we saw this team, the Oakland Athletics, who were able to beat the Red Sox just by being able to analyze data better and do better data modeling. And so we've seen this transition now from like sports to business to healthcare, and we're on the verge of really being able to see it in development as well.
Yeah, and it's really interesting as well that you talk about data being used in many different sectors. What are some of the more innovative tools that organizations in international development are using to increase efficiency in their work?
Yeah, I think like some of the tools that I think are being used. I think what Tableau and Power BI are doing with data visualization is really incredible. I work with a lot of graduate students at Boston University, and a lot of them haven't done data visualization at all before. And knowing now that they can go and watch some primer videos on data visualization and really do something that 10 years ago wasn't possible because data visualization was like a subset specialty. I think those are really incredible tools. A tool that QED has developed is Quintrospect, and this is an organizational management tool that allows companies in different organizations to really pinpoint problems or pain areas that they have in operations and in systems. And it's really like a 15-minute survey, and it shoots out the data analysis, the learning, and the takeaway actions from this quick survey. And if you think about it, this is something that previously would have taken weeks to do the data collection, the data analysis, and now it's being done in really less than half an hour. So I think that's a tool that's really increasing efficiency in development.
I'm also interested to hear what you see as the biggest current challenge in international development and what's the key to solving that challenge.
Yeah, it's a big question. I think the biggest challenge is also kind of like the biggest opportunity, and that's we have so much data now, and it's really like how do we take that data and use it and apply it to do learning messages, to uncover these hidden stories in the data. Like 15 years ago, we didn't have the data. There just wasn't enough of it. In 15 years from now, there will be more than enough data that we can know what to do with. So one of the things that we're doing at QED is we're developing a data visualization platform, and we're working with a number of universities in the US and also overseas to be able to take this mass amounts of data that are being produced and break it down into learning messages and takeaways. We had a COP retreat recently, and this is something that the COPs kept talking about. They said, we have all this data, but how do we turn that into learning messages? And one of the COPs, he's a really good poker player. And I don't play poker really, but I like to think about things in terms of like data and probabilities. And we were talking about how with data, you can really play the game better. You can increase your odds of winning the hand. And if it's something like data, if it's something like poker, that means winning more hands. Or if it's baseball, it means getting into the playoffs. But if it's something like international development, that really means like improving the lives of, hundreds of millions of people. And so when you were talking with Delima earlier, she talked about running towards the data. And I think that's something that we really need to do. And right now we have this 20-year history of basically doing evidence-based development. And now that we have the data and we have this opportunity, I think we'll really be able to impact lives. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we'll face and also the biggest opportunity.
Great. You managed to turn something that can be quite technical into something very actionable and practical for our audience, which is great. I'm interested to know what you think is the kind of next frontier in data in terms of technology and innovation as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities, I think, around mapping, like GIS and data visualization. I've talked about data visualization already, but in terms of like GIS mapping is really incredible because what we're doing now is like, historically we were doing maps basically by countries and by regions, and now we're really able to break it down into much more specific data points. And that just really increases data accuracy overall, but it also allows for for the data to become more personable. So it's not just about, this generic person in country X. It's really about a specific person that we can target and we can help improve their health outcomes.
That's a really great point. I'm sorry that we're running out of time, but thank you so much for joining me. And for everyone watching at home, stay tuned for more from Devex World throughout the day.